Nice to see you all. Thank you for all organizers of this beautiful conference. We're going to speak on my, I think, favorite topic. It's DAOs and how we're going to manage organizations on blockchain in the future. And first, so to introduce myself, I'm an initial member of Everscale and DeFi Alliance. We have beautiful speakers today with us as well. I'll first introduce all of them and then let them speak about their products and projects. So Vasilis Mikhailov here is the managing partner in EverFund. Victor Lee is the core team member of Hobby Ventures. Igor Gavrilov is the CTO of XDAO. Christina, I think you know her all very well. She's editor-in-chief in Cointelegraph. And Fong Jack Gang, is it correct? Yes. From Millennium Ventures. So guys, before we go to the first topic, maybe you speak a little bit about what you do, and maybe it has something to do with DAO as well. Vasily.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Vasilis Mikhailov. My background has been investment banking, and now I'm focused on the EverFund. As Vlad spoke earlier today, that would be a DAO managed on-chain fund, and I think it's a great project to boost the development of Everscale ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you. Victor? Yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Victor. I'm from Singapore. Been in the crypto space since 2016. Did a lot of crypto stuff with Web3. Personally, I'm also advising and incubating and investing via my own DAO fund. We have a fund called DAO Ventures. We actually help to invest, incubate a lot of different DAO projects and Web3 projects that we can add value. Because of that, Hobby Global has actually recruited me to actually help them to advise and also lead them on their ventures department. So I work very closely with Hobby's core team on listings, on incubation, and on ventures. Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Igor Gavrilov and I'm Chief Technological Officer of XDAO. XDAO is the fastest growing DAO builder, so you can create a DAO for your investment fund, hedge fund on DAO. We are a project on EVM compatible blockchains, and we already deployed our project to 21 blockchain. Incredible number of chains, superstars from EVM world, Ethereum, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, Phantom, and this infinite list. And I'm a professional mathematician. Right now I'm a CTO. I'm just a big giga nerd at this company, manage all the technological processes. And right now we grow because DAO is a trend, and we want to engage you in the DAO world today. Thank you.
I'm Swastiastu. I'm Cristina Lucrezia Corner, editor-in-chief at Cointelegraph, one of the oldest and biggest publications dedicated to blockchain and cryptocurrencies. We were founded in 2013, and since then our mission is to bring education to the masses about the potential of this wonderful technology, and also to bring diversity and inclusion into the blockchain space. To diversify projects, to diversify presence of different communities. And that is why DAO is a very interesting topic, because it's definitely one of the most promising trends now that can bring together the community that constitutes, in my opinion, the most precious asset of the blockchain ecosystem, people and community. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Testing. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fong Jack Gan. So I'm the founder for Millennium Ventures. And in 2015, started two venture funds. One is called Jubilee Capital, doing early stage VCs, and Jubilee Blockchain Fund, which started to invest in a lot of the early stage ICO projects and layer 1, layer 2 projects. And so one of the earlier projects that I invested in beginning with DAO was DAO Stack. Right, and met up with Martin Fiu at the time, and he was really a fantastic person who kind of opened up my eyes to how DAO could be really innovative and change the world. But of course, no, the world have changed pretty much, and I saw the evolution of how DAO have changed from the early days of Kickstarter, right? It's kind of like the DAO 1.0, and after Jobs Act in US was passed. And then you see the evolution that it changed into, evolved into this angel list, And you have the early stage of crowdfunding, which is equity crowdfunding, rewards crowdfunding, debt crowdfunding. And I see DAO today as like a 2.0, 3.0, right? Almost like a maybe 2.5 kind of stage. So very interesting to have this opportunity to have some chats with our prestigious panelists. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you for the introductions, and let's move to our main topic. So we've been introduced to DAO, I calculated, only roughly 6 years ago. We first heard the concept. I don't know whether you remember, but I remember these days when for the first time I read the first digital autonomous organization. But back then, I think it was something different. So over these 6 years, DAO evolved. And the first thing I would like to hear your opinion, what is DAO for you? Because I guess not all our listeners know what is DAO itself. Let's try to describe for them the concept.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so I think if you look at it literally, decentralized autonomous organization, so there shouldn't be any centralized control by right. There shouldn't be any centralized control of the organization. It should be all maybe determined by or governed by a decentralized group of stakeholders. So, but I feel that this is more of an idealistic definition. Today, for DAO to be successful, you probably need to have a hybrid model. On one hand, it's fully 100% decentralized. On the other hand, it's like overly centralized, which is what you don't want to see. But for a DAO to be effective, I think we need to have some form of a hybrid model. Yeah. So I see it as a vehicle or it's instrument, maybe a design where you can engage large numbers of stakeholders who are interested in the cause of this DAO. And the cause of this DAO could be for various purposes. It could be for commercial reasons, could be for social reasons, could be for education reasons, whatever the reasons could be. But you use this as a platform to gather the stakeholders, interested party, to provide resources into this cause, right? It could be people, money, other connections or whatsoever, and so they can channel resources to complete a certain task or a certain proposal through a voting mechanism that's governed by the DAO governing policies.
Yeah. Any other opinions on the topic?
Well, I would maybe just would like to add that for me, DAO is an incarnation of the importance of the role of community within the blockchain sector. And I guess this is the sector, our sector is the most representative in terms of its communities. It means that communities influence investment decisions. It's the first time ever that community plays equally important role along with the core team, with the project itself, and with the roadmap. And DAO is incarnation of this corporate scheme. Well, corporate is not a good word. Business ecosystem scheme, where the community is put in the center of all the business processes. But I still would like to highlight that we are in the very early stage. And I'm pretty sure that even those who are very interested in DAOs do not yet know very well how exactly it should work. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't delve into these experiments, on the contrary. But there will be challenges, there will be mistakes, and only through this we can achieve a better world with a better involvement of communities.
Yeah.
Let me
Thank
start.
you.
Suppose you have a friend and he is very good at playing with digital assets. What is a way to delegate your money to him in a cheap, transparent, trustless, and secure way? There is a concept for it. This concept is a DAO. DAO is an organic concept how to collaborate in the DeFi space. The same that you can do with traditional organizations, you can do in the DeFi space using smart contracts that DAO use for these purposes. So suppose that you take a look at a unicorn startup at a big company, Facebook, Apple, Google, or maybe Amazon, It's not a single member solution to grow to this size. This is an organization with a lot of members, and in this case, you have to have a really cool team to improve your company. When you have a transparent way to collaborate with your team members, you will grow faster. And in this case, people tend to spend more money when they see a safe solution and they see how their money goes. And in this case, DAO is a transparent system of collaborations for me. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think from my point of view, I think that we have to first clarify a few things with the audience first, right? There has been a lot of companies or protocols use the word DAO. And if you look at the public opinion, a lot of people interpret DAO as a rebracing protocol. They always think, hey, DAO, they are a Ponzi scheme. That is what has happening in the market, right? We shouldn't be ignoring the fact. If you go to a lot of Telegram chats, a lot of chats of people who actually bought a lot of DAO tokens, their interpretation of the word DAO is a Ponzi and rebasing token. I think we have to separate that, right? I think DAO for the panelists here, and the original meaning of DAO is actually decentralization, right? So, you know, if you were to look at it from that perspective, I think the biggest difference between DAO and the traditional companies are decentralization and democratization. So if you look at, you know, how companies are being run, generally speaking, in the Web2 space, the shareholders or the board of directors are the one in control of the protocol, right? If you look at Twitter, if you look at Facebook, if you look at every of these protocol, the one that makes the money is just the directors and the shareholders. But in a DAO, for the first time ever in the Web3 space, that community who are holding the NFTs and tokens, part of the DAO, could have a voice, could actually do something part of the organization. And if you ask me, that is actually the game-changing component. Because this is where the shareholders or the stakeholders for the community or the organization, because it's purely decentralized, they could be anywhere, not being under specific jurisdiction, they could be part of this organization. And if you ask me, that is the biggest difference between DAO and Web2. DAO is actually an improvement over Web2 with democratization and decentralization.
Yeah, true.
Well, I cannot agree more with what you guys all said about DAO projects. It's indeed the transparency of all the decisions that are made. It is the involvement of the community. We are in very early days still, and there are questions about legal personality of DAO funds, how you manage off-chain resources with DAO. This is a big question, I think, where we need to work with local governments and regulators to find the proper way to establish DAOs. And there are DAOs that are purely on-chain. And the beauty of DAOs for me is full transparency, no corruption, and as you involve the community, even the smallest community members can have great, bright ideas about the development around the common goal, and which are usually not heard in big corporations, as you earlier mentioned.
Yeah, great. So many different opinions about this specific thing. I remember back in 2016 when this new concept was introduced, I was very thrilled at first, and I was a huge fan of what was happening in the market. But then what happened and shocked a lot of people was the infamous DAO hack, which led to fork of Ethereum network as we know it. And this put me away at DAOs like for years. I thought it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea to manage organizations, to manage liquidity, and it really, for a long time, pulled back the market from this interesting topic. But then, of course, I changed my mind, but I have a question. Do you think that DAOs as a platform for liquidity management is safe these days? We see these hacks happening every month or so. Or should it be purely used for managing organization? Or is it okay to manage liquidity as well? How safe you think it is these days?
as a moderator, you can ask any.
You as a professional fund manager, what do you think about the potential threats of using DAO for liquidity management?
Well, I think there is no perfect solution. First of all, clearly there are risks. And what we need for DAO to be the go-to solution for liquidity management, I think, are kind of standards and something which is really well audited, and there are a lot of projects already happening which are solving this. But we need to also think about kind of the other way around. Remember the ICOs and all the agent problems with people disappearing with funds, right? You don't have this risk in DAOs. So, and it's a question about where's the bigger risk, right? The kind of bad agent risk or the hack risk.
Or if it disappears, at least you know where it goes. You can trace it.
It's transparent. Yeah, indeed. So I think for the organizations of the future and liquidity management on DAO will be the preferred choice. Now we see billions of dollars managed by DAO, so people believe in the smart contracts behind those.
Yeah. You got, do you know how, can you tell how much money is being managed on your kind of platform?
More than $300 million in TVL about this, and we grew 3.5 thousand times in 6 months right now, so in 1,000 DAOs.
Any other opinions on the topic?
Well, I would just like to mention that security breaches are not only about liquidity, it's also about information and privacy, and this is also something we should think about when talking about DAOs. I'm personally not acquainted with the tools and strategies. I imagine that they are to like create NDAs, for example, within the DAO community and to manage the flow of information, but it's also a very important topic for sure. Maybe even at some point more important than liquidity itself.
And let me know this, when you have a financial management company, for example, investment fund, you don't have to distribute voting power among every member. When we will take a look at traditional venture fund, it has managers and investors generally don't have voting rights in this case. And when you have financial DAO, you will have to choose, for example, 5 managers and distribute voting power between them, and you will have 100 investors with liquidity provider tokens. So we will have a certificate that they provided liquidity to this fund, but we don't have to have voting rights. When you have more than 1,000 voters in your DAO and your venture fund, your voting will be stagnated in this case. You will not have very fast voting system. When we talk about DeFi project management, it's okay to have a lot of members because you don't have to create fast proposals with fast approvals. You can just do it in a long time. That's it.
Yeah, let's move to my next question. You just mentioned voting, and I know whether our guests know that recently Everscale network moved from initial governance, initial member governance to voting governance. I think the website is called everdao.net, so all holders of Ever tokens now can create proposals, can vote for other proposals, which was a huge step for us. But this is exactly what I wanted to ask. Can you name good and bad examples when this voting is efficient? Because we also experience these problems of overflooding of proposals, that people sometimes just miss some of them, how much time to give for voting, and bad examples as well. When you think it doesn't work, it doesn't make sense, and DAO just complicates the things.
So let's maybe start from a straightforward bad example. When you take a look at Uniswap DEX, for example, it has 20 minutes deadline with a high slippage. And if you don't have a fast enough voting system, the voting will be declined because you will not be able to activate the transaction because of high slippage. If you are a DEX trading DAO, you have to have fast voting systems. If you're a venture fund, it's okay for you to have 1 week for a proposal, and if you're if you're a DeFi project, it's okay to last your upgrades for 3 months.
I think the, hello, testing. Yeah, so I think for DAO to be efficient, it can't be, well, that's my personal view, it can't be fully 100% decentralized, where everyone gets to vote or has to vote. I think it will slow down the decision-making process. It's a bit like an upgraded version of a cooperative, right? When you have a lot of members or a social club, or even in some property management funds that's being managed by a dedicated team of officers who decides on behalf of the members or the stakeholders. So you can classify the different voting rights according to maybe how material or how important the various decisions are. In the traditional way of constitutions, right, when in a legal document you have reserved matters. Reserved matters are only decided when it reaches a certain threshold in value, and you need certain approvals to be obtained from the stakeholders, be it different class of shareholders, and the voting rights, approval rights could be 51% or 75% whatsoever. So the similar principles can be incorporated through smart contract in the DAO. Right, so a lot depends on what is the purpose of the DAO in the first place, right? If it's more for social, educational, or some common good causes that are not so material, you can, yes, you don't need to have, it's not time sensitive, and you can have the benefit of asking the whole DAO community to kind of participate and give the vote. But if it's time sensitive, then I think that's it for investment decision. You need to decide within a certain period of time. It's better to have the power of a so-called delegation of authority to be given to maybe a dedicated group of people to decide. And that can be incorporated into the DAO vote, but this is a token approval system. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. Can you make the microphone a little bit louder for the phone? Yeah, thank you. Any other opinions? Victor?
I mean, there's no right and wrong, right? So, I mean, I think DAO is just a name. We cannot expect DAO to solve all our problem, right? If somebody asked me, hey, is NFT going to solve all the IP and theft problem? I mean, NFT is just NFT. You cannot solve everything, right? So I think DAO the same thing, right? You cannot expect DAO to come and solve all the government problem and regulatory problem and governance problem. I think it's just more about movement and people get together. I think that is the core of it, right? I think, as what mentioned just now, I mean, all this movement has been here for a long time, but it's just that because there's money in here, then suddenly it become a DAO, right? That's the word, the term DAO comes from there. But I think DAO exists on the blockchain. Maybe, I know, maybe one day, our government will exist on a DAO. I don't know whether it could happen. That would create remove a lot of, issues in our government. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of problems that DAOs try to solve, we discussed the management, we discussed the voting, but another particular interesting use case is when DAO is used to distribute dividends.
Yeah.
And eventually it drives the prices of many tokens up many times, doing excess on returns, X returns. What do you think, is it like way of market manipulation, or is it a good way of promoting the whatever token is promoting, network, project, etc.? Can you also maybe give some examples of good dividend distribution and not so good?
I mean, I think currently there's no, I mean, there are some good examples of DAO, but I did the best. I think there are much more way to improve. I mean, using an example, right, MakerDAO has been doing this for a long time, right? For DAI stablecoin, for to do so. But are they the best? They are not, right? They still have hacks, they still have issues with their governance, and they are still trying to improve. I mean, there's no black and white in this, but of course there are some bad DAOs, right? That, hey, I just use the word DAO and raise money and then they run away. So, I mean, those are the bad examples. The good one is the one that runs really transparently and has been here for a while. I mean, using the MakerDAO as an example, right? Although I'm not affiliated with them, but their name has been a while. That their name of the company and the DAO has been in the industry for a while, that that at least you can trust their brand name, right? Or their association with that. So, I mean, I think you continue to improve. Those are two examples I can think of.
Actually, I'd like to, yes, hello, thanks. So I'd like to propose that actually the DAO can be used for more than just commercial money-making purposes, right? Because as a tool, it's a neutral. It's neutral and can be used. You can use it for good. You can use it for not so good stuff. Let's say if you think about using it for charitable organizations, right? It's a way where you can incentivize and motivate stakeholders towards a certain cause. And the DAO token that's being issued, let's say in the example of a charity, you want to motivate volunteers to contribute towards a certain good cause. And as and when these volunteers get involved in contributing their time, their talents, their skills, they get rewarded. And the rewards that they receive can be used to exchange for some benefit, either for their own use in future, as when they are old or when they need help themselves, they can get support from some certain social communities, or it can be used to be exchanged for some goods and services from merchants who are supporting this good cause. So the DAO itself can be directed towards different cause, depending on how we design it. Same thing for investment DAO, right? We want to improve the efficiency of decision making. In the traditional way, when we run the fund, I run the fund for VCs and DAOs for blockchain fund as well. It takes a long time to make a decision because you have to go through all the paperwork and all the discussions, due deal, etc. But if the quantum is big, then it makes sense. If you're investing in hundreds of millions, billions, or tens of millions, it makes sense to go through a due process. But if it's a small amount, then it's a waste of time, right? So you may want to decentralize that and say, okay, let whoever that's interested in a certain project, you vote, and if you want to be in, as long as there's a lead, you contribute, we get the investment done quickly. So that, depending on value, we can decentralize it. So I think these are two applications I see, and for different industry, you can apply it for different purposes. But ultimately, the DAO is supposed to influence behavior. So what kind of behavior do we want to drive? And it's certainly not scam. It's not certainly not trying to promote pump and dump, rug pulls. No, that's not the thing. No quick buck. No, we don't want to encourage the investment community to come in to try to earn a quick buck within short time period. So we want to build something that's long-lasting, scalable, meaningful, value-adding to the society. So I think DAO has a good attribute, but right now it's early days, as you were saying. We need to put in the right values and right principles into it. Thanks.
When we talk about dividends, profitable financial companies are the easiest case here. You just need to pin distribution proportion, and you can distribute all the profit to pin the liquidity provider balances, for example, in a single transaction. And when we talk about DeFi project without a profit system, and you need to incentivize your members to reward them for voting and to reward them for better solutions in your voting process, this is a really big problem. It's not an easy way to just reward stakeholders and other things, and it highly depends on tokenomics of the project. And you need to do deeper research in this case. Dividends are very easy when we talk about financial companies.
I actually agree with what you were saying, that about this issue. I'm not sure. I mean, everybody who are following on Twitter, right, saw that there's a case of like $36 million was sent to another account that is unretrievable. That has happened yesterday or the day before, from another company, right? Start with J, right? Not affiliated with them, but when I see that, right, it's really shady. They says that a bunch of voters decided to vote and says that they're going to remove the liquidity of one single guy, and then they take the money and then they just send to somewhere else that they cannot retrieve it. Seems like there's not really how DAO does it, but a lot of people use that to manipulate it. So that is actually where the bad things happening.
Yeah. So we were just discussing this, and I thought that DAO is a really great tool for user engagement. And we all remember Pioneers MakerDAO, of course. I remember how Yearn Finance became popular when they introduced this DAO mechanics and dividend distribution into their protocol, and that was later copied by most of the DeFi products like Curve, etc. But let's just try to imagine what new DAO mechanics could help develop the blockchain products in new spaces like GameFi, NFT. A good example, I think personally, Stepan is a good example of implementing a DAO mechanic I called for something new. in a new space, move to earn, right? Maybe you have other ideas. How can we use DAO mechanics, other interesting DAO mechanics to engage users into the blockchain industry?
I think everyone have a different interpretation on that, right? I give my example on that. Last year, I think a couple of months ago, there was an article published about Flamingo DAO. Not associated with them, but they become $1 billion DAO because they invest into a lot of NFTs last year. And within 6 months, I think from like couple of tens of millions become $1 billion DAO, right? Again, that is very exclusive, but it happens, right? So, there's a good example of that as well. I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe everyone will have a different interpretation.
Just for example, I'll give you my example. The things I like is fractional ownership of stuff. This is what I'm really excited about when some DAO community buys, I don't know, an expensive painting, or maybe in the future a yacht or a plane, whatever, and just shares it. But there are some examples, but they're just starting. Maybe you have other interesting like examples of implementing DAO?
Yeah. Actually, I think that example is just a quite similar use case for securitized, security token offering, right? When we had ICO, then you have IEO, STO. Actually, it's the same thing. Unit trust is a form of tokenization or fractionalization. It's just we're changing a different name. DAO is just another form of it. So if you look into the substance of it, we are just trying to divide the ownership into different parts. Whether you call it a unit, or you call it a shares, you call it token, you call it DAO fraction, it's the same thing. So I think we can look beyond the actual use case and see how can we use this as an instrument, a tool to change the way people behave, investors behave, or entrepreneurs behave, right? Or the community behave. And then use it in a manner where the transfer of value become more efficient. Because where Web3 adds a new advantage versus Web 2 and before was that the transfer of value was very inefficient before, right? To transfer a shareholding from one company, one shareholder to another, you have to go through a lot of paperwork. And the winner at the end of the day are the lawyers, the COPSEC, the accountants. There's no value, right, to the value business. But there's proper accounting. But today in the DAO or in crypto, there's no proper accounting. There's no proper accounting of the gas fees, how much you're paying. There's no P&L, no balance sheet. So how do you account for it? So if someone who can solve that problem, have proper accounting, then I think the operation of DAO can be a lot more efficient. And then the transfer of value can flow from community users from one user to another. So today, let's say on Facebook or Instagram, all the contributors of content to all these platforms, they are not earning anything, right? So there's no real benefit to them. But how do we incentivize them in such a way that as you contribute, you upload your video, your selfie, your Wi-Fi, whatsoever, you get rewarded. And the reward can be exchanged for something real they can use. So Play to Earn is a very good example, right? Your Axie Infinity, your YGG, or when you use this SLP to exchange for goods. I invested in Avocado, and the guild is generating a lot of good tokens for the scholars. Right? They can bring food to the table, they can pay school fees, and the community is happy with it. So there's a positive social impact to the society. But if it's just for pure commercial gain, I think it's a waste of the innovation. So since there is a good innovation and there's a lot of interest into it, if there's a way to kind of tap into this energy, use it for good, to generate good, positive progress to society, that this is where I think a great opportunity where Everscale can play a leading role in this.
Yeah, we have a few minutes left. Let's discuss the last topic I wanted to discuss with you guys. This is the topic of what do you think, can the DAO solve the problem of cross-chain interoperability? I would say that, I'll give you an example. Not many people know that the guys who built the bridge on Everscale allows not just to vote people, but to cross-chain execute the vote into different chains. And this is a really interesting topic for me as well. And do you think that DAO is a much bigger concept than just voting and managing liquidity, that we can even think of it as a tool to execute different whatever smart contracts on different networks depending on, let's say, the voting or the proposals that are pushed to the network, or even depending on some oracles in the blockchain, whatever. Do you see such applications in the near future? Can you think of them? Can it help bring different blockchains together?
If you have a state transfer protocol, for example, Octus Bridge, you just have to create a DAO on a single chain, on a single chip chain, for example, Everscale, maybe Polygon for EVM example. You distribute voting power on single blockchain. You distribute liquidity provider tokens for your investors on single chain. And now, if you have a state transfer protocol or any cross-chain solution, you can manage your funds and provide liquidity to any chain from the DAO side. For example, you can just transfer your funds directly to a startup or on Binance Smart Chain, or furthermore, you can provide liquidity to Aave on Ethereum if your bridge provides this opportunity. And I deeply inspired by this solution. Right now, we create a multi-chain platform, and we are looking for opportunities to scale our solution from multi-chain to cross-chain, to allow DAOs to create a single DAO to manage all the funds. Of course, it's convenient because you don't have to duplicate your voting power tokens on every blockchain. You will have a single centralized accounting in the centralized space, and that's it. I think this is the future, and of course we need more bridges because nowadays bridges are not so cool to provide all the experience. We need fast, cheap, and a secure way to provide liquidity from chain to chain.
Yeah, thank you, Gor. I know you have a lot of experience in this topic, but guys, what do you think? What Cointelegraph thinks?
I don't see. I mean, DAO is like an application. So if we look at it from a Web 2.0 or an internet view of, if I compare layer 1 to OS, operating system. Operating system in the first wave of an internet boom, they were looking for a killer app, right? So DeFi was, you can say that in the blockchain world, DeFi is one killer app, gaming is one killer app. The question now is whether, or NFT is a killer app. Is DAO a killer app? Maybe not yet. Maybe the potential is there, but maybe not yet. And bridging, I see bridging not as a standalone problem that the DAO can solve, but it's more like a feature or an attribute that it has to have in order to facilitate transfer of asset value between chains. But it should be built, in an ideal way, it should be built in a way where it's neutral. It's not just one-way direction, only for other chain to transfer value inwards into one chain and not the other way around. So if it can be built in a neutral way, I think that would be very good for the whole ecosystem. So if we can, let's say in the case of Everscale, right? If we have a DAO that have all the widgets that can allow cross-chain transfer of value, and you have a lot of the features that can make the formation of DAO very easy for non-tech people, right? People who were running cooperatives, running traditional companies or even Web2 companies, they find it so easy to use your DAO like a WIX or Wix. It's like setting up a website. All the modules are plug and play, right? And you can plug and play and can immediately have a cross-bridge feature to allow crypto users from other chains to transfer their assets inwards. Then I think it's a very good use. It's a very good solution for the problem.
Thank you, Christina, Victor.
If I can bring a little bit back to the community itself, because well, for me, bridges and cross-chain solutions are mainly technology communications, and if we talk about people and communities, it's more or less the same. The idea is to bring as much as possible, as diversified as possible, and in my opinion, creation of a DAO starts from formation of a community, and this is very important point in my opinion, because you will never have solutions that you want to be promoted according to the values of your DAO if your community is not representative enough. Like you would never have, I don't know, women projects promoted within a male-dominated DAO. or you won't be able to promote regional friendly solutions if you have, I don't know, Americentrism implemented within your project. So formation of a community and the more adopted we become with the coming of mass adoption, it becomes even more important. So we have to think about the community that we create, and we have to educate the community that we bring forward. So DAO, it's not only engagement, in my opinion, but also exchange of knowledge. And in order to be not a stupid crowd, we need to all keep learning. And the more people we involve, the more attentive we should be. Which message do we promote through our community, and which people do we want to see within our community? We want to see everyone, but what are the tools that make them part of this community, part of what we want to solve, part of what the project is about in terms of its initial ambitions?
Yeah, that's interesting idea that just also came to my mind, that it's not just, we can look at DAO as not just the user engagement tool, but also as a feedback tool to get from our community and improve our blockchain products. That's a very interesting idea. And I think this is a good motivation to implement DAOs in all blockchain products.
I think the last word is this, right? I think very interesting to see whether there's going to be a DAO for stablecoin or DAO for CBDC. I think the next topic is going to be interesting because the current...
So the community decides whether we print new money or not.
You see, you think about it, a stablecoin is controlled by who? You know, the centralized entity, decentralized is trying to come on board, CBDC is centralized. Is there going to be a DAO for stablecoin?
Let's vote whether inflation is too high and make it a little lower.
That's where the opportunity is.
And then we vote, nothing happens, and we say, oh, okay, sorry. Didn't work again. Vice, last word.
Sure. So I think with DAO, we have the same situation as Web 3.0 versus Web 2.0. UI UX is not there yet. As such, we see low turnouts in voting. And we need solutions which would be very convenient and something very crisp and easy for people to grasp what they're voting on and how it would impact the community and the DAO. There will be a lot of evolution. The traditional legal system, it took hundreds of years to form. So the legal system, corporations, how it works. And I think the next iteration would be how DAOs interact between each other. Because you have lawyers everywhere, right? For any contract, you spend months to agree on something, and it is still not kind of possible to do it between two DAOs, right?
Yeah.
So who would do that?
Right.
And as such, DAO is a great thing. That would allow any organization to evolve, get the feedback from the community. Even if there is a low turnout or there are whales who will overvote anyone, still everyone will see in a very transparent way where the money would be spent and how the funds are allocated, and see the feedback of the community. If they vote against something or repeatedly ask for something, I think even the big stakeholders will take it into account in the decision making. Let's see. I think we'll have a lot of evolution in DAO within the next 3 years.
Yeah, it's true. And let's thank the speakers first with a round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. What a pleasant discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we have a special guest coming to us today. Please meet Made Ariandi, the chairman of the Bali Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Terima kasih. Selamat sore, Om Swastiastu.
Good evening, everyone, and Swastiastu, it means may peace be upon with you.
Selamat kami ucapkan atas berjalannya EverPoint Conference 2022 dan permohonan maaf kami selaku mewakili yang sedianya tadi Bapak Gubernur akan hadir memberikan sebagai pembicara untuk memberikan spirit terhadap acara ini.
We would like to congratulate for the event of EverPoint Conference Bali 2022. Also, we would like to apologize on behalf of the Governor of Bali. Due to some unforeseen and unexpected situation, our Governor have to cancel and cannot attend this event.
Salam hormat Dewa Unur dan kembali kami katakan mohon maaf. Dan ke depan kami menyambut gembira atas terselenggaranya acara ini dan tidak hanya hari ini dan saat ini, mungkin dalam 1-2 bulan kami menunggu kedatangan Bapak-Bapak sekalian untuk hadir dalam acara yang seperti ini, mungkin partisipannya akan lebih luas lagi. Di mana
Again, we would like to apologize on behalf of our governor, and we are very excited as a Balinese society to welcome this kind of event, and we are expecting for your participation in the upcoming event in about 1 or 2 months.
mengingat Bali akan menjadi tuan rumah G20, di mana di dalam G20 kami selaku Ketua Kadin dan Kadin Indonesia ditunjuk oleh pemerintah sebagai presidensi B20 yang akan diselenggarakan di November ini. Untuk itu kiranya perlu diadakan event atau conference seperti ini sebelum diadakan di bulan November G20.
The event we were talking about, of course, is the B20, as in relation to the G20 event that will be hosted by Indonesia this year, especially in November. And we are looking forward for your participation and for another similar event like this that will invigorate the situation in Bali.
Tidak bisa dipungkiri transformasi arah pelaksanaan ekonomi dari model lama ke digital tidak bisa dielakkan lagi. Untuk itu Bali sudah sangat siap dan sangat senang bisa menjadikan Bali hub digital di masa yang akan datang.
Of course, the transition from the old financial and economic way into the brand new way of doing finance and businesses is very welcome, and we as a Balinese people are very excited to be participating and to bring about the change going forward.
Pada acara yang sedianya akan dilakukan ke depan lagi, kami bisa akan ikut berpartisipasi dan mengajak teman-teman pengusaha lokal, tidak hanya Bali saja, mungkin dari secara nasional di seluruh Indonesia akan ikut berpartisipasi untuk acara yang akan datang.
Therefore, in regards to the next B20 that will be started in November, we are inviting and we are expecting all expatriates, all entrepreneurs, be it local, domestic, national, or globally, to participate and to be involved in such event.
Terima kasih, kami sangat senang. Untuk itu silakan setelah acara ini, silakan menikmati keindahan Bali. Bali selalu terbuka untuk dunia.
Again, we would like to congratulate for this event and the hard work that has been put into this prestigious event. Please take your time and explore Bali, and that's it.
Dengan moto untuk global, recovery together, stronger together. Om Santi 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 Om.
Just like the G20 creed, recover together, stronger together. Om Santi Santi Santi, or may you be peace, have peace, and be peaceful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ariandi. So thank you for coming. A pleasure. Okay, guys, so before the next panel, we need a technical break just to prepare our speakers. So please do not go way too far, so we will be starting in 10 minutes.